This is Tom. I'm here this week with a couple of things. This first little short video is just going to be a summation of our update to our standard operating guidelines that we produced for our COVID response, specifically towards EMS personnel, but it's a good idea if everybody reviews that. The thing I want to cover this week in just a minute or two is what Corey didn't cover last week because we were doing a little editing on it, and we will get out online to you via email an actual updated version of the whole guideline. This pertains to the small section about your N95 masks. There were changes about 10 days ago to the guidelines from the state and the federal CDC. Initially, we had suggested that we could use our N95 masks for 8 hours cumulatively, and initially it was perceived or interpreted as being over multiple shifts. They don't want us to do that ideally because there's more risk of contamination, but they really want the intention to be 8 hours cumulative in a shift, or if you work in a hospital, 12 hours. And then you could keep it in a paper bag in between while you're eating your lunch, for example, if you worked in a hospital setting or if you weren't on calls in EMS. But they don't want it to be used over multiple days. And so the issue with us is that we probably will only have one call in a day where we might need it. So what we're going to do is only use it once, but rather than discarding it, I would ask that you still preserve your N95 mask in a paper bag and mark on the paper bag in pen or Sharpie the date that it was used, and then just set it aside. We may be very fortunate here in Maine that this may pass without it being a significant thing here in Castine. That's not a known thing, and I don't know whether that will happen or not. And if it does, this will all be unnecessary. But if in fact it gets to a point where we have multiple calls and we may run short of N95s, which I hope does not happen, there may be an opportunity down the road to have some kind of sterilization process of used masks. So as long as your mask after its use is not damaged or dirty, we don't need to dispose of it. Just put it in that paper bag, set it aside somewhere secure where it won't contaminate anybody and it won't get damaged. And then if in a month or 6 weeks there's a shortage and still a need, we can look into some of the processes and opportunities for actually deconning used masks that are still intact. So that's what we want to do with our N95s, and that's really just the update to that small multiple point section of that SOG that you got emailed to you a couple weeks ago and that Corey reviewed last week. Thank you very much.